Hi, kindergartners. Welcome back for Chapter 5 of The Wizard of Oz. I have to say this is one of my favorite chapters because you meet my favorite character. We are going to meet the Tin Woodman. So first I want to show you what I did with our map, and I kind of reorganized some of our words. You can always pause this if you want to learn how to spell any of the words, or you can copy them, or you can use your word wall, which is on the back of your map. If you want to write your own story or tell me about some of your favorite parts. So on our map, a couple of different things. I labeled the Emerald City. The Emerald City is right here in the middle, and that's where the Wizard of Oz is. And that's where our whole story sort of is focused on. Everyone in the story is trying to get to the Emerald City. So it's a very important setting in our book. Up here, I put the Good Witch of the North. And you see that I gave it a little smiley face because it says the Good Witch of the North. We also learned about the Wicked Witch of the East. And you see that there's a frowny face on a wicked. Now she lived over here in the east. And of course we know that Dorothy's house landed on her. So down here I have some more words for us. Here I have Dorothy and Toto. And under Dorothy I have words that go with her. I have Kansas, which is her home, which she wants to get back to. A cyclone, because that's what carried her home to Oz. Silver shoes and ruby red slippers, because as you know now, in the book, she wears the silver shoes from the Wicked Witch. But in the movie, we've already learned that silver didn't look good on the yellow brick road, so they changed them to ruby red. So let's see, we're going to get started meeting our next character. Chapter 5, The Rescue of the Tin Woodman. When Dorothy awoke, the sun was shining through the trees, and Toto had been out long chasing birds and squirrels. She sat up and looked around her. There was the Scarecrow, standing patiently in the corner, waiting for her. "We must go and search for water," she said to him. Why do you want water?" he asked. "Well, to wash my face clean after the dust of the road, and to drink so that dry bread will not stick to my throat." "Oh, well, it must be inconvenient to be made of flesh," said the Scarecrow thoughtfully. "You have to sleep, you have to eat and drink. However, you do have brains, and it is worth a lot of bother to be able to think properly." So remember, Dorothy is made out of flesh. She's human, like you and I. And the Scarecrow isn't. He's just stuffed with straw. So he says it must be very inconvenient to be made of flesh. And that sort of means it's a lot of work. We have to do a lot of things to stay healthy. They left the cottage and walked through the trees until they found a little spring of clear water, where Dorothy drank and bathed and ate her breakfast. She saw that there was not much bread left in the basket, and the girl was thankful that the Scarecrow did not have to eat anything, for there was scarcely enough for herself and Toto for the day. When she had finished her meal and was about to go back to the road of yellow brick, she was startled to hear a deep groan nearby. "What was that?" she asked timidly. "Oh, I cannot imagine," replied the Scarecrow, "but we can go and see." Just then, another groan reached their ears. And the sound seemed to come from behind them. They turned and walked through the forest a few steps, when Dorothy discovered something shining in a ray of sunshine that fell between the trees. She ran to that place and then stopped short with a cry of surprise. One of the big trees had been partly chopped through, and standing beside it with an uplifted axe in his hands was a man made entirely of tin. So tin is like what a soda can is made out of. So there's a man standing there who's made entirely of tin. His head and arms and legs were jointed upon his body, but he stood perfectly motionless, as if he could not stir at all. Dorothy looked at him in amazement, and so did the Scarecrow, while Toto barked sharply and made a snap at the tin legs, which hurt his teeth. "Did you groan?" asked Dorothy. "Yes," answered the Tin Man. "I did. I've been groaning for more than a year, and no one has ever heard me before or come to help me." "Oh, well, what can I do for you?" she inquired softly, for she was moved by the sad voice in which the man spoke. "Oh, get the oil can, oil my joints," he answered. "They're rusted so badly, I can't move at all. Oh, if I'm well oiled, I should be all right again. You'll find an oil can on a shelf in my cottage." Sorry, the phone's ringing. So he's been rusted, and he needs oil on his joints to be able to move again. Dorothy at once ran back to the cottage and found the oil can, and then she returned and asked anxiously, "Well, where are your joints?" "Oil my neck first, please," replied the Tin Woodman. So she oiled it, and it was quite badly rusted. The Scarecrow took hold of his tin head and moved it gently from side to side until it worked freely, and then the man could turn it himself. "Oh, now oil the joints in my arms," he said, and Dorothy oiled them, and the Scarecrow bent them carefully until they were quite free from rust and as good as new. So our joints are anywhere where our skeleton can move. So we've been studying skeletons. So you know that there's certain places where our joints can move. So the same goes with the Tin Woodman. He needs oil on those joints so that he can move again. The Tin Woodman gave a sigh of satisfaction and lowered his axe, which he leaned against the tree. "Oh, this is a great comfort," he said. "I've been holding that axe in the air ever since I rested, and I'm glad to be able to put it down at last. Oh, now if you'll please oil the joints in my legs, I shall be right once more." So they oiled his legs until he could move freely, and he thanked them again and again for his release, for he seemed a very polite creature and very grateful. "I might have stood there always if you had not come along," he said. "So you've certainly saved my life. How did you happen to be here?" "Well, we're on our way to the Emerald City to see the Great Oz," said Dorothy, "and we stopped along in your cottage to pass the night." "Oh, and why do you wish to see Oz?" he asked. "Well, I want him to send me back to Kansas, and the Scarecrow wants him to put a few brains into his head," she replied. The Tin Woodman appeared to think deeply for a minute. Then he said, "Well, do you suppose Oz could give me a heart?" "Well, I guess so," Dorothy answered. "It would be as easy as giving the Scarecrow brains." "True," said the Tin Woodman. "So if you'll allow me to join your party, I will also go to the Emerald City, and I will ask Oz to help me." "Well, come along," said the Scarecrow heartily, and Dorothy added that she would be pleased to have his company. So the Tin Woodman shouldered his axe, and they all passed through the forest until they came to the road that was paved with yellow brick. The Tin Woodman had asked Dorothy to put the oil can in her basket. "For," he said, "if I should get caught in the rain and rust again, I'll need the oil can badly." It was a bit of good luck to have their new comrade join